Jai Hind. Today's class will focus on types of natural disasters. Effective disasters preparedness helps alleviate some of the chaos wrought by the unexpected crisis. So it is very imperative to know about the basic things first. The aim of today's class is to acquaint everyone about the types of natural disasters. Human society, natural environment, and disasters have been closely interlinked since the dawn of civilization. Natural disasters and the increasing environment degradation worldwide are serious threats to development. In the past 20 years, earthquakes, volcanic eruptions, landslides, floods, tropical storms, droughts, and other natural calamities have killed over 3 million people, inflicted injuries, homelessness, and misery on 1 billion others, and caused billions of dollars of material damage. Natural disasters threaten all three dimensions of development to include economic, social, and environmental aspects. 90% of the natural disasters and 95% of the total disaster related deaths worldwide occur in the developing countries. The term disaster is commonly used to denote any odd event, natural or man made, which brings about immense misery to a region and it becomes difficult to cope with the situation through local resources. I repeat, my dear friends, that the term disaster is commonly used to denote any odd event, natural or man made, which brings about immense misery to a region and it becomes difficult to cope with the situation through local resources. So today's class is divided into two parts. In the first part, we will understand the classification of disasters, and part 2 will focus on the types of natural disasters. Classification of disasters. Based on the nature of onset, the disasters can either be natural or man made. Let's talk about the man made disasters first. Accidents that can happen on road, rail, in air, sea accidents, or building collapse. Forest fires include the tropical countries where the forest fires are often man made. However, remember that they can be natural as well. Industrial mishaps, gas leaks, explosion, sabotage, and safety breaches, all included in industrial mishaps. Fires in buildings, coal fields, or oil or gas fields and oil or gas storage depots are all vulnerable to fires. Contamination or poisoning. Incidents of mass food poisoning, water contamination, illicit liquor poisoning, and epidemics. Terrorist activities, in which we often come across the serial blasts or explosions in public transport or markets. Ecological disasters include pollution of air, water, noise, soil degradation, loss of biodiversity, global warming, sea level rise, toxic wastes, and nuclear accidents. Warfare. Conventional, it can be chemical, biological, or nuclear. Natural disasters can be related to wind, water, earth, and many more. Wind related are storms, cyclones, tornadoes, and tidal waves. Water related include floods or flash floods, cloudburst, excessive rains, and drought. Earth related earthquakes, tsunamis, avalanches, landslides, and volcanic eruptions are all disasters related to Earth. Volcano is one of the natural disasters. Let's talk about it. We've already seen the types of natural disasters. This is how a natural volcano which is a natural disaster, looks like. You must have come across this figure before, so this just shows you how dramatic can it be and how devastating can its consequences be. The word volcano comes from the Latin word vulcan, the Roman god of fire. Volcanoes erupt when the lower levels of the Earth's crust push up on hot magma, causing the volcano to burst through the top layer of the Earth. When a volcano erupts, magma, ashes, and other gases are released and pushed upwards from beneath the Earth's surface. The melted molten rock is called lava when above the surface and is referred to as magma when below the surface. When a volcano erupts, the molten rock that is spewed from the volcano builds up and begins to form a mountain like structure. Because the molten lava is so hot, sometimes reaching over 2000 degrees Fahrenheit, anything that it comes in contact with, it can burn or melt it. The volcano can spew lava, dust, ashes, and deadly gases. After the molten lava cools down, it hardens and turns into hard molten rock. The ash can be carried hundreds of miles by the wind. Volcano can be both active or dormant and can be found both on land or under the sea. Let's talk about another type of natural disaster now. Landslides. Landslides are mostly caused by movement in the ground and the force of gravity pulling down on all earthly objects. Landslides can also be caused by heavy rains, earthquakes, and even some man made causes such as road work. Landslides usually consist of falling rocks and sliding earth in addition to failure in the earth's surface. They often occur in conjunction with other types of natural disasters such as volcanic eruptions, earthquakes, and other faults in the earth. The effects of landslides include collapsing buildings, collapsing roads, and even sometimes causing death. Now let's talk about the third type of natural disasters. Earthquake. These are some of the pictures of the devastating effect that an earthquake can have. Earthquakes are one of the powerful natural disasters caused when there is a shift, collision, or sudden release of energy in the Earth's crust. Sometimes called tremors and temblors, earthquakes usually occur on the boundaries of or near the lines where Earth's tectonic plates collide and slide past each other. This is called a fault line. Changes in Earth's surface usually result in earthquakes. Earthquakes consist of shaking and displacement of the ground. Depending on the intensity of the earthquakes, they can cause buildings to collapse, which sometimes results in fatalities. The Richter magnitude scale is usually used to classify and measure the magnitude of earthquakes. The Richter scale was invented by Sir Charles F. Richter in 1935 and it has a scale from 1 to 9. Before I move on to the next natural disasters, let me just help you recall one of the latest events that has happened in Delhi. Delhi falls in high risk seismic zone and is in zone 4, which is susceptible to earthquakes. The National Center of Seismology has recorded around 12 such earthquakes between April 12, 2020 to June 5, 2020 during the pandemic times of COVID-19. The recent one was administered on 3rd of June 2020. So now let's move on to the next natural disaster, that is tsunami. Tsunami is a Japanese word meaning harbor wave. Tsunami usually takes place in the ocean but can also occur in large lakes. Caused by an underwater earthquake, volcano landslide, or other types of explosion. Tsunami are giant waves that can destroy the entire city. Tsunami can range anywhere from a few inches to several yards high. These are some of the pictures of tsunami. Some large tsunami have been as tall as 100 feet, while some have been less than 20 feet tall and still caused extensive damage. These great walls of water can gain speed as they approach the shore, sometimes up to 500 miles per hour. Tsunamis have tremendous destructive power and can destroy hundreds of lives and homes each year. Hurricane, another type of natural disaster. It is sometimes called the tropical cyclone, typhoons, or willy willies. Hurricanes can rip up trees, destroy crops, and flatten buildings. Torrential rain causes flooding, and coastal regions may be swamped by huge waves whipped up by winds that blow as fast as 300 kilometers per hour. Some of the scary pictures of hurricane. It starts to form when the sun's heat stirs up moist air over the oceans, where the temperature at the center of the storm, called the eye, can be more than 300 kilometers across, and the winds only gale force. But as the eye narrows to about 50 kilometers across, the winds begin to swirl around it at hurricane force. Cyclones pose a major threat to lives and property in many parts of the world. Next natural disaster that we're going to talk about is floods. Floods can arise from abnormally heavy precipitation, dam failures, rapid snow melting, river blockages, or even burst water mains. It is usually sudden in onset. Types of floods can further be classified into inland and coastal floods. Major floods result in physical damage, deaths and injuries, problems in drinking water supply, and food shortages and displacement of population. The next natural disaster that we're going to focus on is drought. Drought. If over about 2 weeks there is less than zero point 0.2 millimeter precipitation, then there is said to be a drought. Without reservoirs, there is not enough water for people and crops. Some places have extreme drought which lasts for many terms. Droughts can have disastrous and long-term impact on the economy and can affect a large segment of the society which may last for months and in some cases several terms. Drought situation is defined as a temporary reduction in water or moisture availability significantly below the normal or expected amount for a specific period. Drought is a slow onset phenomenon. Remember, my dear friends, it is not only very important to know about these natural disasters for those who are vulnerable to it, but even important for those who are non-vulnerable, as these disasters can happen at any place and at any time. The prediction of space, time, and extent of these disasters for some is just beyond the scope of human abilities. So it is imperative to have a plan in place and for all to understand the meaning and finally your role within this plan. So to conclude, my dear friends, natural disasters and the increasing environmental degradation worldwide are serious threats to development. Natural disasters threaten all three dimensions as already stated: economic, social and environmental. The calamities have killed over 3 million people till date, inflicted injury, disease, homelessness and misery. It is therefore important for all of us to be fully aware of various types of natural disasters and take measures to minimize losses of all types. Before moving on, I'd just like to show you a video of the
It's
recent
12 o'clock.
Amphan that has recently taken up. That has recently taken place on 20th of May in Bengal, buffeting the region with strong winds and heavy rains. It made a landfall in the coastal region of West Bengal. Here is a man giving warning. It left behind a trail of destruction claiming at least 10 to 12 lives. This video has been taken from Indian Express Online YouTube channel. It has structurally damaged Kolkata airport as well. Look at the devastating effects. The wind speed were as high as 130 km per hour in Damdam area of West Bengal. Trees were brutally uprooted. Electrical poles were damaged and mud houses collapsed. Look at the way. It's just going off. According Indian Meteorological Department, this cyclone has now weakened into a depression, but has left a major effect on the lives. The natural disasters can be devastating, and we need to stay on an alert always by following the protocols set for disaster management. So stay alert and stay safe. Always, my dear friends, just make sure that you always stay alert and you stay safe. Jai Hind.